So there it is. The 2024 NFL Draft is now officially over. It's been a pretty crazy 3 days of this draft. Today, the Packers selecting 6 different players. I already did my breakdown and review of the first 3 selected in rounds 4 and 5, including safety Evan Williams from Oregon, offensive lineman Jacob Monk from Duke, and of course, Keion Oladapo to finish out that 5th round. If you guys want to go watch that breakdown and reaction, you can find it on my channel, as well as the breakdown and reaction of round 2 and 3 players, and of course the Jordan Morgan pick, all of which are on my channel. I would definitely consider going down and clicking that subscribe button because the draft content does not end here. We're going to be diving down into each one of these prospects in depth over the next couple of months, going over the tape, looking at where they project, how they project, and what they mean to this roster. So if that does interest you, along with all the other content such as training camp, OTAs, salary cap, all here on the channel, go down and click subscribe. So in today's video, we're going to break down, react to, give my first thoughts on the next 3 players selected for the Green Bay Packers, or should I say the last 3 players for the Green Bay Packers, 1 in the 6th round and then 2 in the 7th. The Packers' first selection in the 6th round and their only selection in the 6th round at pick 202 was Travis Glover, offensive lineman from Georgia State. Adding their 3rd lineman in this draft class, so safety and lineman, they both were drafted 3 separate times. And who would have thought? It's a versatile offensive lineman that has a ton of experience. The Packers went for offensive linemen with experience in this draft class. That much is clear. Firstly, I wanted to take a look at his RAS. Now, this is the one outlier in this draft. Like, yeah, sure, Tyron Hopper and some of the others don't have crazy good RASs, but they're still average to above average. This is the worst RAS the Packers drafted in this draft class. Travis Glover here, offensive tackle, Georgia State, with a 4.71. Okay speed, 5.27. Good size, 6'6", 317, but only 20 bench reps for that size. Arm length, 34.75, so probably remains at tackle, but he does have some versatility, which we'll get into. Agility grade, this one does surprise me a little bit. The Packers tend to draft linemen that have a really good 3-cone. He has neither a good 3-cone or a good shuttle. Does have a decent vertical, but not a good broad jump as well. But again, this is just more offensive line depth. You already got Jordan Morgan. You already got Jacob Monk, who could both compete for starting spots, if we're being honest. Now you get another project at offensive tackle. He is going to be their next Yosh Nijman. They're tall, swing type of tackle with some versatility that they continue to build. With Glover, he played 5 years at Georgia State, nearly 4,000 total snaps, so a ton of experience. When we look at the years, the past 5 seasons since 2019, last year in 2023 was his best overall grade at 71.5 and his best pass block grade at 80.8. He allowed 4 sacks and 12 pressures, and he took pretty much all of his snaps at left tackle. We see there 789 snaps. The year before that, he took some snaps at left guard and also right tackle, just around the same. Then in 2021, he took basically all the snaps yet again at left tackle, some at left guard, allowed 3 sacks and 14 pressures in 2020. He took all of his snaps at left tackle and had 2 sacks allowed with 10 pressures. And all the way back in 2019, which feels like so long ago, he took all of his snaps at right tackle, allowed 1 sack, but 36 total pressures. But, you know, he definitely has grown as a player, obviously, since then. So clearly right now, Glover has tackle guard versatility. I do see him more long-term as like a depth swing tackle, but in a pinch, guy could definitely play some guard. Overall, I thought the Packers would end up drafting 3 linemen in this draft class. Jordan Morgan was my guess for day 1. I didn't have Jacob Monk or Travis Glover on my radar, but now it just makes so much sense. You know, Jacob Monk kind of similar to Travis Glover in the sense that it's versatility, except his is with center and guard, and then a ton of experience. He had a ton of experience at Duke. Travis Glover, some versatility, tackle to guard, ton of experience. We clearly see the type of linemen that the Packers love to draft. And when it's a need for the Green Bay Packers, such as O-line and such as safety, Brian Gutekunst loves to triple dip in the draft, as he did with both positions. Then the Packers had to wait a decent bit, but they had 2 picks in the 7th round at 245 and 255. And in the 7th round, the Packers went with quarterback Michael Pratt from Tulane. And we all wondered if Brian Gutekunst was actually going to draft a quarterback. I was pretty confident in it that in my Goot mock, I think I had him go Sam Hartman. If I had known that Michael Pratt would fall all the way to 245, I probably would have had Michael Pratt in there. But I didn't think he was going to fall all the way to 245. Some consensus boards had him ranked around like 100 to 125. So I just didn't think he'd last all the way to the 7th round. But that's good value there if you're comparing it to that. Bringing up his RAS, 8.28, but he didn't test in terms of speed. So no 40-yard dash there. 6'2", 217, great explosion. Actually has a 36-inch vertical, and agility grade is good with a great shuttle and an okay 3-cone. As for Michael Pratt, 2 great seasons of quarterback play and just continues to get better and better. This past season, he had a 78.3. He completed 185 passes for 2,405 yards, 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions with a 110.5 quarterback rating. In 2022, he had an even better PFF grade at 89.3. He completed 215 passes for 3,000 yards on the dot, 27 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a 111.9 quarterback rating. He has an intermediate grade this year of an 85.9, a deep grade of 88.5, no pressure grade 80.1, but struggled a little bit under pressure at 58.1. In terms of his pros and cons, he has very clean fundamentals. Touch passes are a strength of his game. He's not afraid to put some air under his passes to his receivers, not afraid to look the middle of the field for a seam or dig routes. Got better / more consistent manipulating coverage with his eyes in 2023. As for his cons, ball does wobble at times due to smaller hands. Arm strength is average. He has to really lean back to put distance on deeper passes, chooses to take off and run instead of hitting shorter passes. I'm actually interested in his hand size. Okay, 9.25. Okay, so that's definitely why he probably fell to the 7th round. Like I said, I didn't do much research on quarterbacks, but those are pretty small hands for a quarterback. But I like the pickup. We all kind of expected Gutekunst to go quarterback after he had that one press conference, and he was like, I want to add to this quarterback room. I want to continue to keep drafting quarterbacks like the old Packers. You're talking Aaron Brooks, Mark Brunell, Matt Hasselbeck. It goes on and on and on. Packers drafting quarterbacks, not when they necessarily need them, producing them, and then maybe getting a better draft pick later down the line. Right now, the Packers, obviously, Jordan Love, Sean Clifford, Michael Pratt, quarterback 3 at this point, will carry him onto the roster so long he has a good camp and they feel the need to retain him on that roster. But at the end of the day, he is a 7th round pick, so it wouldn't be the end of the world if it didn't work out. But if it does and they can produce him into like a solid depth quarterback, maybe other teams take a liking to that and maybe they get a 5th round pick for him in future years. Then for the final pick in the 7th round at 255, 3 picks away from Mr. Irrelevant, they went Keion King, cornerback out of Penn State. And this is wild because right before the 7th round started, I was putting out some tweets, draft-related tweets, and I put out one saying the fall of Keion King needs to be studied. This guy was considered a 1st-round draft choice at the start of this draft process. Of course, didn't have a great 2023, went to the Senior Bowl, didn't look good, didn't really test good, didn't run fast, and he dropped all the way down to 255, which is still insane to me. I thought, yeah, sure, he's going to drop, but maybe like a 5th to 6th round type of guy. Like you buy in because of the 2022 season, how great that was and how great he was once at Penn State, and say, hey, maybe he can return to that form. I think this is an awesome pick. In the same sense that they got Carrington Valentine last year in the 7th, which I thought was a nice draft steal, I think this is a great pick. Taking a look at his RAS, you could see part of the reason why he fell just didn't test well. 6.68, 5'11", 191, ran a 4.6, 140. So yeah, he didn't test well and isn't considered an athlete by RAS, but this guy is a ball player. Taking a look at his profile, you can also see another reason why he fell in this draft. Last season wasn't the best, but it wasn't terrible. It was a 60.3 grade, which, whatever, that's right about average. Allowed 25 receptions on 41 targets for 290 yards, didn't allow a touchdown, didn't have an interception, and only allowed a quarterback rating of 2.4. The last 3 seasons, he played basically all outside cornerback, 391 snaps last year, 474 the year before that, and 249 the year before that. He had a good run defense grade last year, 73.6, coverage grade very low, 55.7, but only allowed a 61% completion percentage. Man coverage also very low, 48.6. But when you look back at 2022, that 89.0 grade, he only allowed 27 receptions, so only 2 more receptions, but he was targeted 59 times, so much lower completion percentage rate there, which is a 45.76% completion rate. That's very, very low. He allowed 1 touchdown in 2022 and had 3 interceptions, and only allowed a quarterback rating of 48.9. So the Packers love to draft players that maybe had a better year in 2022 than they did in 2023. You know, when you look at Tay Wicks, you look at Jaden Reed, both definitely had a better 2021 than they did in 2022 when they were drafted than in 2023. We could see with this draft, like the type of players that the Packers really like to go for. And again, Keion King here, I think, is tremendous value. And I started to see some comments worried about that cornerback room before they selected Keion King. I think the Packers are very comfortable with the 5 guys that they have. Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, and Corey Ballantyne. They're very obviously okay with that room. To then wait to the 7th round to get another cornerback. They believe in Carrington Valentine. Maybe Eric Stokes, that's a good sign that he's healthy or he's ready to go for the season and hopefully doesn't get another setback. You know, Jair Alexander had an injury-riddled 2023, but he should be back and ready to go. Corey Ballantyne stepped up when needed. He could fill in if you need him to. Keyshawn Nixon was shaky at best at slot, but now you have a guy like Javon Bullard who, if Keyshawn Nixon doesn't play up to par, Javon Bullard's going to start getting nickel snaps. So, and then you add Keion King to the group, which has high ceiling, low risk, very, very high reward. Adding another guy like this in the 7th round into this cornerback room is perfect, in my opinion. So overall, I really like this Green Bay Packers draft class. I think it hits on a lot of needs, but also adds much needed depth, much needed versatility. And in terms of the defensive picks, there's a bunch of guys that can just run fast and make tackles and make big hits and cover a lot of field. And I think they added a lot of potential starters in this draft class, whilst also adding guys that have a ton of potential. The Packers started with 11 picks, made a couple trades, in round 2, traded up in round 4, in round 5, ended up with 11 picks. So they ended up with 11 players here. And they're already starting to sign undrafted free agents. They actually just signed offensive tackle Donovan Jennings, who was also in my Goot mock. So I guess that kind of works. They just gave him $100,000 guaranteed, so they really liked him. Maybe was thinking to go Jennings at 255, but obviously Keion King sitting there. They wanted to get him instead. So I guess that's another one I got right. Let me know down in the comments if you guys think so. But I'm very pleased with this draft class overall. Also, let me know down in the comments what you think of this draft class. I honestly think Brian Gutekunst has been nailing it the past 3. So those are my instant thoughts and reaction to the round 6 and round 7 players. Of course, we're going to dive way more into all this, and then we'll also, go over all the undrafted free agents they sign. I'll probably do that tomorrow or Monday when we get like a real compiled list of all those guys as well. So be on the lookout for that. But I appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.